Baby Yoda in the background. That's what's up.
All right, 1, 2, 3. What is up, you MMA loving scoundrels? From the ashes of MMA podcasts through the COVID muck that is 2020 and back by the popular demand of just us, the Trenches is back. Welcome to a Merry Trenches Christmas reunion. I am, of course, the credentialed captain piloting this podcast ship. The esteemed Jay Petrie is behind the scenes operating the Stat Machine 9000, and here to co-pilot it all is a very talented man. You may know him from his work on Sherdog, MMA On Point, The Body Lock, My MMA News as well. He joins us as the third best looking man on this reunion team. He's the MMA love of my life, the one and only Anthony B. Walker, Mr. B. It's an early Christmas gift to have you here tonight.
Well, I would say thank you, but you gave me quite the backhanded set of compliments there in the intro. So I'm not sure what to think, except that I need better friends. But that being said, it's good to see you. I like your sweater. You will lose in the feats of strength against me.
I would like to add already, the chat's going already. We got Cole Shelton. Shout out to Cole Shelton. Christmas or not, Ant Walker is still trash. Wow. Firing already, Cole.
You seem to have this way of appealing to the most negative aspects of the MMA world,
like
and just the dregs of society. Well, yeah, kind of.
I mean, we've got so much to talk about. I mean, and a ton of questions. Thanks, shout out to the Sherdog forums for a whole plethora of questions for us. But before we get into questions, I want to first go into this Dana White smear video because, you know, I have to talk about it because what he did yesterday, you know, what the UFC has done during this pandemic is truly commendable in terms of keeping the people working, fighters working, staff working, although they are about to lay off 60 fighters soon. That has to be kept in mind. But I was really impressed with this video Dana put out because I did not know he was flexible enough to fillet himself in front of the world. That was pretty impressive. You know, this was Trump level in its very specific attack on the media as a whole. Certain members of it straight up going after people. Mind-blowing stuff. I don't know if Dana knows this, but the UFC needs the media as much as the media needs them. You know, there's a reason Kyrie Irving got a big-ass fine recently for trying to black out the media. And the NBA is way bigger than the UFC. Anthony, thoughts? I know you were disappointed you weren't in that video.
I actually was kind of disappointed I wasn't in that video. I've spewed so much negativity toward the initial announcement that the UFC was going to keep going through the pandemic. And actually the last assignments I did for Sherdog were op-eds about like how insane this idea was. The thing about it is that piece could have been somewhat reasonable. If we're using the word reasonable very loosely,
yeah.
if he put it out in like May,
yeah,
you know, so pretty much all the criticisms about the UFC pushing forward were rightly done because they were being reckless and stupid, and it was this obvious attempt to go outside of regulation. Therefore, media members and journalists, people who you know, are paid to watch the sport with a different sort of eye, to watch it beyond a surface level, were commenting that this didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that like thousands and thousands of people have died. Like what the count right now is 300 something thousand people in the United States alone have died.
Yep.
I mean, really, where are our priorities here? Do we want to enjoy the fact that Dana has removed ribs so he can pleasure himself or about this, or do we want to talk about like the human cost, like what's been sacrificed on a human level here? I think the whole idea to put that video out was so incredibly tone deaf, was so incredibly disrespectful to first his staff that has risked so much of themselves personally, professionally, to make this happen, to work on this insane schedule. So this video was all about Dana, not the staff members of the UFC who make it all possible. No vitriol done toward Disney executives who were actually the ones who pulled the plug on the
Tachi. Yes, very true.
249.
Yep.
So there's so many different things that are wrong with this video, and quite frankly, we could spend the entirety of this show, picking apart everything that's stupid, everything that's wrong. I mean, it's so stupid, it's so wrong that it's almost like really funny.
Yeah.
And I think in the worst ways possible, it is the perfect representation of what 2020 has been.
Yeah, and it's scary the direction we're going now in a post-Trump world and stuff like that. Like, what is acceptable to say and do and handle yourself? Like Vince McMahon is has done some wild stuff as the owner of the WWE and all kinds of crazy things on camera as a part of a character. Even he would not even sink to this kind of level of like just a public 4 or 5 minute video made just to slap yourself on the back like, way to go, I am amazing, you guys were all wrong. Like, I don't understand what the purpose of this is. Like, it's a gigantic I was right. Like, you just named all these ways. How is he right? That he force-fed media, MMA into it. I respect that. I'm happy that he was able to get events, but it's not like people stopped dying. It's not like a whole bunch of fighters haven't tested positive for COVID. A ton have. Like, and he's lucky. And then, this isn't like the NFL where they got to play another week, or the NBA where they got to play in 2 days. They can rush him in and then rush him out before they test positive. Like, there's these great loopholes that they can get away with that. To smack yourself on the back as if like the media are crazy for being worried about life and the fighters that you employ. I just don't get it. Like, it is like so Trump level. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was stunned by that damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to like about it other than the sheer absurdity of the whole thing. But I want to take a moment to recognize the poor staff member who, after this 24 consecutive weeks of UFC events, and there's work up to their eyeballs and just constant time away from their family and just work and work and work and work and work, you finally think you get a little time off, and then someone comes over to your cubicle and says, hey, the boss man needs to be filleted on YouTube. Let's make it happen. Yeah. Like how stupid this whole thing was. And also I was wondering where there was going to be any mention of Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, who they spent an entire pay-per-view broadcast eulogizing, but COVID, screw COVID. Like, it doesn't make any sense, and these things cannot coexist.
And what's crazy is this is not like, oh, we're going to all get vaccines and everybody's going to be good. There's a legitimate thing out there. I don't know if you've heard about it or seen it, what they call long haulers. Have you heard about long haulers?
No.
Long haulers is something Cody Garbrandt may very well be. It is people who have gotten COVID. They didn't really have
lingering symptoms.
Exactly. Even if they didn't really have many symptoms, if any, when they first got it, and it's affected them months down the line. Look at him; he's still affected months down the line. Like, just because some of these fighters got it and who's to say careers won't be affected by this, by having them travel or having them train to make fights? And like, I mean, if 3 or 4 fighters can't fight because they have long hauler symptoms, I mean, you can't slam dunk on us for something like that, worried about these kinds of things. But it bugged out. We had to talk about it, had to bring it up. Now, going into a whole bunch of questions right out the gate, with maybe one of the best questions of all the questions from American MMA. The world must know, Anthony, boxers or briefs?
Boxer briefs, of course.
Oh, fair enough.
Man, you gotta support the boys when you're working out. And also in this post pandemic world and living through quarantine, since March I've worn a real pair of pants like maybe twice, and that was like once to take family photos. Yeah. So I actually put like some jeans on. Yeah. Other than that, I've been wearing shorts and joggers, like just in pajama pants. That's all I've been wearing. You gotta have some sort of support if you're wearing that. You just can't have the thing just flopping around. Attracting a lot of attention.
Unless you want to attract attention.
As a married man, I don't want to attract this sort of attention.
Well, I mean, inside the house, you want to attract that certain attention.
No.
I mean, you clearly attracted the attention because you have a baby, so clearly you don't mind attracting attention in the house. Come on, Anthony.
I mean, I am a sexy, irresistible man. So this is why my wife is blessed with my company, of course. But yeah, man, like if you go into the grocery store, you just can't have the microphone just swinging there with no stand. You gotta support it. boxer briefs. That's the way to go.
That means that brings new meaning to the idea of mic drop, but won't go there. For me, I will happily say I evolved in life. I was a brief boxer briefs all the way with the Anthony boxer briefs, too good. And the future wife, she enjoys them and how I looked at them. So more reason to wear them. But
all right.
Zebra Cheeks, perfect name to transition from this conversation. Zebra Cheeks asks, we've been stuck with two venues lately, Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi. How do you feel about the format the UFC has been using, packing 3 or 4 events in a week or two in Abu Dhabi, like International Fight Week to start 2021 they got coming up? And would you like to see the UFC continue this pattern post-COVID?
I don't really feel any particular way about the way things are set up now, simply because this is sort of an extraordinary time period, and they obviously have to do whatever they can to dance around regulation, and kind of play within certain COVID protocols. So that is what it is. As far as it continuing in the future, I mean, if the schedule stays with this level of frequency, absolutely not. Like, this is nuts, and to the point where the fight quality, I think, has dropped severely. It's just so much, and we don't have time to like marinate on a fight. And we talked about this, when we were doing this show on a regular basis a couple years ago, that the frequency in events led to people just kind of glossing over things that are really cool happening. Like I'm having trouble even remembering what event it was. I guess it was it 256 where Cub Swanson knocked out Daniel Pineda?
Yeah.
By the end of that night, it felt like that happened 2 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
To the point where I was kind of forgetting, like, who did I think Cub Swanson just beat somebody? Who did he beat? And really thinking, like, what happened? And this was just like an hour and a half ago. So that's the level of frequency that the schedule has, and I think there's going to be a certain level of fatigue in that. And we as people who work in media and draw a paycheck, maybe a small one, but a paycheck nonetheless, to watch and to talk about and write about certain events and whatnot. I mean, we have a financial obligation to watch it. We have a financial incentive to watch it. If you are not that person, I can think of my brief time kind of on the outskirts when the pandemic first kind of started, and like, I don't feel like spending my Saturday watching fights for 10 hours. I'm sorry, I'd rather do something else. And I love fights, but I'll catch up on the ones that are worth seeing later. I think we're going to have a lot more people doing that if they keep this up. So this is not, in my opinion, the best way to run the UFC post-COVID. The issue here is going to be the broadcasting deals. What contracts do they have to uphold, in particular for ESPN, and not to mention some international partners, that they just have to do. They have to hit these benchmarks. Otherwise, they don't get their money. And of course, at the end of the day, that's what's most important to the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. Just going back to the idea of being media and stuff like that. I can't cover events. I mean, Bellator I can't cover because they go to Mohegan. They're doing their stuff like the Apex and the Mohegan Sun. But I like the idea of going around, having a chance to cover the UFC. I don't want to have to only go to Las Vegas. But I just also like the idea of going to different places, traveling to different countries, home field advantage, so to speak, different crowd reactions, all those various things. And going back to the idea of just having a break, if they're not running constant shows in the same place where they can do like 4 or 5 in a row, maybe they can have a break. I do like a chance to breathe. I love the sport, but if there's not a UFC on a weekend, I'm not torn up about it. Especially now, we're going to have PFL on Thursdays. We're going to have Bellator also sort of on Thursdays, or they used to be on Fridays, but now they're on, I guess, Thursdays now with CBS. One Championships is on Fridays. You got all these various, there's so many events throughout the week and stuff like that. So, I mean, I hope they go to a more diverse, leaner schedule, going all the place, getting into Madison Square Garden, Staples Center, all these major venues, going to the Australia and Russia and nonsense. Yeah, I'm good. Like, if they want to keep doing Fight Island for that gimmick appeal of it, cool. I'm cool with that. But just doing everything on the Apex, I'm over that kind of thing. But going back to the chat and our conversation on mic drops, Yojimbo mentions mic drop more like mic flop. That's a good one. I like And also we got Kinjutsu Master. What about low cut traditional underwear? Yeah, nah, probably not gonna go with that. But next question comes from Frank McEgger. Considering the success for pay-per-view numbers for Tyson Jones, do you guys see either stepping back in the ring anytime soon? I would think the obvious answer is a gigantic hell yeah. They made a bunch of money. They're athletic years, if you want to call them that, are fairly limited. So if they can do it and stay busy, why not? I mean, people liked it. I don't know if the nostalgia will continue into the next one. Maybe it was unique to this first event. Everybody was pumped. They got to see Mike. Okay, I'm good. I don't need to see Mike every 4 or 5 months to compete again. But if they get some interesting answers, I mean, if they do Mike Tyson and Vander Holyfield, do you not want to watch? You probably want to watch. Yeah, so I mean, I would imagine. I mean, Roy didn't look great. I'd like to see Mike again. I don't want to see Roy again, though.
Well, the thing is, I don't think you have to worry about seeing Roy again. Right after that. I mean, maybe he'll have a bit of hubris later on and think, yeah, I'll come back and I'll look sharp or something. Yeah. But right after that fight, he was not into it. I mean, Tyson was all like, yeah, I got to do this again, and this was, I feel alive again. Roy wanted to go to bed. He was tired. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Roy Jones, Roy Jones is also someone who has made money outside of being in the ring, like consistent money as a commentator and an analyst. Yeah. Mike Tyson definitely has made his money outside of the ring with just his cult of celebrity or whatever. Yeah. However, the difference is, as far as getting certain sort of like commentary positions and analysts being like involved in the sport of boxing without actually boxing, Tyson probably is not going to get that call to be play-by-play or color for an event, simply because his reputation of being rather unpredictable. So yeah. I don't think that's someone that a TV executive will be like, yeah, we'll go ahead and trust the live broadcast and potential FCC violations in this man's hands, unless he smokes a boatload of weed beforehand, which he probably will. He definitely blew a lot of weed smoke in my face.
Speaking of weed, please, if they do it again, no Snoop Dogg again. No Snoop Dogg. Bring Izzy back.
On that.
I like Izzy,
push back on
Snoop Dogg was ridiculous. He was rooting for like certain guys, and I think it was Mike he was rooting, or maybe Roy. He was rooting for him like he had money on him. Come on now.
Well, thing is, Snoop was perfect for that sort of thing. Now we think about the Contender Series and his tenure on that. Yes. It was absolute trash.
Yes.
For a couple of reasons. One, he doesn't really know anything about mixed martial arts. It's not something he grew up watching, not something that he might necessarily have any sort of passion toward. Knew nothing about the fighters. He just knew he was there for a check, and he got to smoke weed with Faber, in between rounds, I guess. So that was the appeal for him. But he actually was genuine fans of Tyson and Roy Jones, a certain level of passion that we heard from him on that broadcast that we didn't hear during the Contender Series. And then on top of that, the Contender Series was a weekly thing. It got very quickly, you got tired of Snoop. Yeah. They didn't even use Snoop for the full broadcast of the Tyson Jones fight. He was there for the last two fights. Yeah. But the Contender Series, he's there 4 or 5 fights a week, every week for 10 weeks or something it was, and it sucked. The novelty wore thin very quickly. We didn't have the chance for that. But I think if you put him with stuff like this, where it has a novelty celebrity appeal to where this isn't legitimate boxing necessarily or legitimate combat sports period, have at it. I mean, it was a joke anyway, so why not have fun in the booth?
I mean, you're wrong while being right, but there's truth to it. But I mean, you know what? Now thinking about it, it really was like a carnival. It was like a circus. They had musical acts. They had Nate Robinson nonsense fights. So on that level, Snoop probably really did fit in. But every other opportunity to have Snoop around, please just go away.
And Sugar Ray Leonard, poor Sugar Ray Leonard on that card, who by the way I think is terrible on commentary in general.
Agreed.
He's horrible on commentary. Yeah. Absolute legend. Sucks behind the mic, but man, he really seems so miserable. He's surrounded by rappers and MMA people. Yeah, for the entire time. Like, you talk about hell for a boxing legend like Sugar Ray Leonard. That was funny. I enjoyed that. Sugar Ray and Snoop embraced the foolishness. I like it.
Now to add, Jay, I mentioned comment from Jack on Fire. Jason's hair is looking on point. Thank you, Jack. I do what I can.
Fire is a liar.
He also asks, what about a version of Snoop Cast for a future season of Contender Series? Tyson Cast? That would be interesting. A Tyson Cast on Contender Series?
But Tyson actually knows fighting. So
Yeah.
that might be. The thing is, you just have to wonder if is he going to say something really off the wall. That I think becomes the danger. That's more of a danger for an executive who's making decisions for the direction of the broadcast. But for fans, yeah, I'd love to hear Tyson talk about fighting. He's incredibly knowledgeable. He knows everything what he's talking about. It should be fun if you do it, and I think it'd be very informative, at least from the striking standpoint.
And I'm pleased to say Frank McEggers also in the chat. He mentions Tyson versus Lewis. I would pay $350 for that. I'm assuming $3.50, not $350. I'm not paying. I'm not paying PS5 prices for this kind of thing. No way.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, I'll watch it. Like here's one I suggested to our buddy Oscar at MacLife, and he like thought this was just nuts. James Toney versus Mike Tyson, which actually might borderline on being too legitimate of a fight because James Toney, within maybe was it 5 years ago or so, held a heavyweight title.
Yeah, he was a good heavyweight.
Yeah, so it wasn't exactly the WBO title, but he had a belt. I think it was like the North American Boxing Organization, the NABO. I think he had their heavyweight belt. So, I mean, there are so many iterations of this. We still got the potential of Anderson Silva versus Roy Jones as well. So maybe that's what get Roy Jones out of bed. But yeah, man, it's going to happen again. They made way too much money for this to just fly away like a fart in the wind. And yes, I said fart in the wind.
I'm always for fart in the wind. You know what? I wouldn't mind a real good freak show like Mike versus I forgot I think it's Vitaly. No, not Vitaly, but Valuev. No, Valuev. Remember that guy? He was like a 7-foot champion, and I think like Ruiz beat him. He was like mid 2000. He was Russian. He was like almost 7 feet tall. He was a heavyweight champion before we got the Wilders and Furies. Yeah, it's like
Jay. So this is Ruiz beat him before Jones beat Ruiz.
I think now he was even after Jones went up and beat him, went back, left heavyweight.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't even watch any John Ruiz after that fight.
Jay, if you can look it up, like it's like Nikolai Valuev or something. Like he was just terrible. But the idea of Mike being like short and him being 7 foot and I probably watch that.
The fact that we're struggling to remember this guy's name says that's not a good opponent.
Like I think it says it's a great opponent.
It's a terrible opponent because the whole thing, the whole appeal about this are names that we know. So if it's a name we don't know, like Lennox Lewis is a real name. He's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Vander Holyfield, real heavyweight, one of the greatest, real celebrity too, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. So that makes sense.
Okay, I
James
found
Toney, certain level of celebrity as well.
I found him. Nikolai Valuev, the Russian giant. He was 50-2, 34 KOs. Former heavyweight champion. Oh, wow. Still not a good fight, Anthony? Still not a good fight?
Not if you want to make money. No.
Fair enough. All right. Marco Polo asks, who is the GOAT and why is it Fedor?
I think you misspelled Ant Walker. But no, I do not believe that Fedor is the GOAT. I don't think Fedor is the greatest heavyweight of all time either. So, don't at me. Although you're probably going to at me anyway.
Well, who is
Miocic Stipe Miocic is the greatest heavyweight of all time in my opinion. Daniel Cormier second.
Because I talked to Demetrius Johnson and he gave me his GOAT. He went the John Jones route again. But I was like, so give me 2, 3, 4. Like who is the guys after?
No, just like heavyweight or overall?
No, all time GOAT. Like who's
all
your
time?
1, 2, 3, 4? The
right,
first
Jones
is the easiest,
won.
but okay, John. All right.
Yeah. Jones 1, GSP 2. I got Silva 3. I've got who did I have? DJ 4, and I got Daniel Cormier 5.
4. Interesting for DJ. DJ would be my number 1. I can't picture.
And I'm not mad at that.
I can't picture a more complete fighter. I mean, if he had more power in his hands, the man would be illegal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at that. Like the thing is, either one of the people that you put on a top 10 list have a definite claim for the number 1 spot. So I'm not mad at that. I just think that that Jones' level of talent surpasses anything that we've seen in combat sports, period, not just MMA. I think that GSP's reign of dominance was so long and spanned different generations of fighters. And then for him to come back after time off to win the middleweight title, Anderson Silva was someone who electrified audiences with a lot of the things he did, dominated that division, also had success at 205 pounds. Demetrius Johnson, cross-divisional success as well. His record title defense streak is what it is. And then on top, I don't like the argument that the flyweight division was weak. I think he made people look weak.
Yeah.
But I do think GSP, John Jones, and Anderson Silva fought stronger competition. And due to no fault of DJ's own, I think that puts him at number 4.
Who would be your top 3 GOAT, so to speak, of strikers? And is Anderson 1 or 2 in MMA for you? He's 1 for me, and I gotta go Conor 2. Honestly, that's what I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I'm not mad. Conor would definitely be in that discussion. I think Anderson, Conor, Izzy, those kind of the names that they come to mind for me first. And I know that somebody is probably watching this screaming out a name that we're not mentioning, and then I'm like, oh yeah,
Anthony Johnson's a good one. I've never seen someone more fast and powerful like him. Like Ngannou,
he's athletic, but at the same time, was he able to apply that athleticism and that speed and everything to the best fighters in the world consistently? Not always.
I mean, he was never.
This is a guy who got submitted by Josh Koscheck.
But he's not one of those strikers that got knocked out by somebody. The only way you were going to beat him was by wrestling him. That was the only way he was really beaten.
But then also too, when we're isolating particular disciplines in mixed martial arts, it's inherently a flawed argument because each discipline blends into the next when you're talking about a complete fighter, and it's going to change the approach to the game. So, for instance, Carlos Condit versus Damian Maia, Condit is by far the better striker, but they didn't mean anything once he got on the floor. It made him hesitate on his striking and whatnot. So it's really hard to judge MMA just on those individual disciplines. But gun to my head, Silva, Izzy, Conor are top 3. Any order you'd like as far as striking acumen.
Here's another one. If Izzy fought Anderson,
Crow Cup. Oh, sorry, Crow Cup.
Oh, Crow Cup, yeah, it's true. If Izzy fought Anderson when he was like prime Anderson, when he was, running through guys and running through middleweight, could Izzy beat that version of Anderson?
Yes.
Really? I don't think he could have.
Yeah, because Izzy was doing the same things to kickboxers. He was doing the same thing to world champion kickboxers. Unless Anderson Silva suddenly decided to become an offensive wrestler, I think them just going full out, Izzy now and Silva in his prime, I think Izzy floors him.
Interesting. He couldn't have floored old Silva, though.
Well, I think he was holding back. I think that was more of a respect thing. He's holding back. But he very clearly won that fight. It wasn't competitive, despite the romantic notions we have in hindsight. Yeah. That wasn't a competitive fight. Izzy completely dominated that. He just didn't kill him, because that's kind of what we expected. A couple of the names that Jay suggested, Jose Aldo in our chat.
Yes.
And I'll throw Anthony Pettis out there as well. Kung Lee, another one.
You love Kung Lee. I love Kung Lee.
I love Kung Lee. Man. Sorry, Kung Lee. Yeah, I'm a sucker for a Kung Lee fight.
Now,
Kung Lee versus Anderson Silva is the greatest fight that never happened in my opinion. But what do I know?
And I was the type of guy that, like, when I got into MMA, I didn't want to watch the UFC because that's what everybody's watching. So I was like watching Elite XC and Strikeforce. So yeah, Kung Lee, he hurt my heart. He beat Frank Shamrock.
You were an MMA hipster?
Yes, I was. I was a trend. Wow. I was bucking the trends. But speaking of bucking the trends or bucking the trends the right ways, Frank McEdgar added in the chat, same curls like me, Jason, looking good. Thank you, Frank. Always trying. But then Frank went off the rails a little bit. Lewis, I'm guessing he means Lennox Lewis, is absolutely the greatest boxer of all time.
I mean, if you said the greatest heavyweight of all time,
I don't think he's that.
Okay.
I
mean, I don't agree with that, but I'm not going to argue with you too long about that one. But certainly not the greatest boxer ever overall. Absolutely not.
He never fought Brooklyn's own Riddick Bowe, so he's definitely not. He wasn't even the best heavyweight boxer of his time, baby. I'll say it. I'll go that far.
By the way, we forgot Wonder Boy. Jay put that in the chat too. Wonder Boy, as far as the striker list.
Well, then Lyoto Machida. What about Lyoto Machida? And he finished guys probably more than than Wonder Boy does.
Yeah, I mean, see how silly this argument. Naming everybody who's got a knockout victory. Yeah, so yeah, let's keep pushing from here because this is going to devolve very quickly. I can tell.
Speaking of Frank McEgger's question is up next. He asks, what kind of TJ Dillashaw do you guys expect to see in his return, and does he deserve an immediate shot at the bantamweight title?
He absolutely does not deserve a shot at the bantamweight title.
You said that with such joy.
Absolutely not.
So mean.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's a ridiculous notion, and I understand him campaigning for it because he's going to get paid more money to be a champion or to be in a title fight. I get that, but that doesn't mean he deserves it. Like, we want a lot of things that we don't get in life, and I think a title shot on his return is the thing that TJ wants that he should not be getting. This man is no longer champion because he cheated, and it wasn't a tainted gas station dick pill like John Jones. It wasn't the blue vial of Thai sex juice or whatever it was that Anderson Silva supposedly had, and it wasn't tainted deer meat that Frank Mir supposedly consumed. Like, this was EPO. There's no other way to take EPO than to inject it in you, and full on well what it does. And his style was predicated on high volume and cardio. So when you're taking a drug that specifically works on your cardio, I'm sorry, I have a lot of question marks, and you should not be in a title fight. However, I do think he deserves to be in a big fight. He deserves a valued name. I know Jose Aldo threw that recommendation out there to welcome Dillashaw back. I like that fight a lot. I think also, depending on how high the promotion is on Dillashaw right now, if they want to kind of pave the way for him to get right back where he was, give him Uriah Faber, give him the grudge match against a big name. You can draw a lot of eyeballs and springboard from there.
And to throw out another name, I just interviewed him earlier, Rob Font. Rob Font wants that fight too. Rob Font versus Dillashaw. He's now number 5. That makes a lot of sense too. But yeah, I'm gonna be one of those people that I'm gonna believe TJ used it to try to win the flyweight title and wasn't using it before. I just feel like the guy was in USADA long enough. If he would have got popped, he should have got popped long enough. Maybe he's a PED genius and he knew how to evade the system and stuff like that. He finally got caught. But I feel the version that's going to come back is going to be very good. He got work done on, I think, both of his shoulders. He had surgery and stuff like that. So if he was already a good striker, and I forgot who I talked to. I think it was Juan Archuleta talked about that. This guy's shoulder used to pop out of the joint all the time before the surgeries. If he was a great striker before having his shoulder fixed, I mean, I can imagine he's still going to be so good, if not better, coming back. Does he deserve bantamweight title fight? Hell no, but I agree with you 1,000%. Aldo versus TJ is like a dream fight. That's an amazing fight, and Aldo is still so good. Why not? That's the fight. If it's Rob Font, I'd be down for Rob Font. Anybody in the top 5. I think he is deserving of a top 5 guy. The guy was one of the best bantamweights of the last decade, clean or not, whatever you feel, and he should deserve a big fight either way. But speaking of questionable things and hard to believe nuggets, Jack on Fire, his question is, I know you're gonna love this one, Anthony. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the one you were eyeing up in the entire list of questions. Considering one championship surpassed UFC by 1.8 billion online views, would you say the UFC is dying, Anthony?
I say the only thing that died is common sense.
Look, they're getting viewers from the entire universe. Come on now.
I mean, they're counting like bacteria that's in the room and random cell strains that are there. Like, it's ridiculous. We can go on forever. I can go on forever about one championship's ridiculous hyperbole. Like, it's to the point where it's like, come on now, you guys know you're a joke. and it's unnecessary because the fights are spectacular. They put on some great fights. They have great fighters. They have a fantastic product, but man, this snake oil salesman approach to PR is absolutely stupid. And and I know that is the question is a reference to a tweet that went semi-viral on MMA Twitter with one of the biggest lapses in logic the world has seen on a place that is devoid of logic. So hat tip for the reference. I see what you did there.
I mean, I forgot who I was having this conversation with, but oh no, yeah, it was somebody in one championship, and they kind of agree with me. Like, Chatri, just no disrespect to Chatri, nice guy, I like him and stuff like that, but he needs to go to the back, like fade away into the back a little bit, like Scott Coker does. Scott Coker, you rarely see him talk unless he really has to, or he's at weigh-ins, or he's putting a belt around somebody's waist on fight night. Not everybody can be Dana White. Hate him or love him, questionable or not, fellatio videos or not. Like, the guy has a weird it factor that appeals to people. His fuck you, I'm a regular guy who's really rich and you can kiss my ass. It appeals to people, just like Trump appeals to people. That he's unique in that way. Chatri's not that guy. Chatri trying to be that guy, being in the opening of the shows and yelling into the mic because there's music on despite the arena being empty, it's not necessary. Like, he just doesn't have to do it. Like, just put the product out front. And I'd rather, like, sort of in the vein of what Combate has done with what they did with Del Rio until Del Rio's stuff started happening. Put somebody else that's a good mouthpiece, a Ben Askren, somebody like that can connect with a North American audience. Be your talker, be your guy at the weigh-ins and the press events and whatever. Let him be the voice. Like, Chatri trying to do it, and then now he's gonna be like one of the hosts on their version of The Apprentice. Like, I hope it goes well, because oh man.
Yeah, he's Chatri. The thing is, I think my personal opinion on this one, and one championship already doesn't like me, and that's fine. They've done a fine job of trying to tarnish Big Daddy's name over here.
Wow.
Yeah, but like what I honestly think about Chatri, I think he's tried to be the anti Dana White, but in reality, he's much more like Dana White than he wants to admit. Yeah. I think for a lot of the scumbag promoter things that we can point at Dana and say, we can point at Don King or Bob Arum or pretty much anyone who's in the fight promotion business, because it is a dirty, predatory business by nature. Chatri does all those things too. And the recent Bloody Elbow report will shed a little more light on that. So stop trying to pretend to be something that you're not. Like, it's this constant need to be seen as the angel when we know for sure you are not. You are a fight promoter. You are inherently dirty. You're inherently a scumbag. We just want to see the product, and that's just kind of what it is. Like, Chatri probably looked at the landscape and saw the juxtaposition of personalities as a potential avenue to draw viewership and raise the profile of the company, and it's just not working because you've gone too far on the other extreme. The way I like to see it, like, Dana White knows he ain't shit. And he'll let you know. He'll jump on the mic and he'll let you know by saying a lot of screwed up things and being tone deaf and putting out videos like that absolute just mockery of reality that he released yesterday. So he'll do that. Coker will just not say anything.
Yes.
Scott Coker is just going to be quiet, and he's just going to quietly do his job, and they're going to quietly make horrible matches like Melvin Manhoef versus Corey Anderson. And they're just going to do that like it's all good.
Yeah.
But Chatri is sitting there presenting the same level of crap and then putting a bow around and saying, "See? I'm so nice. I'm so good." No, you're not. Stop pretending like it.
So wait, are you trying to say Alessio Sakara headlining in like 2019 isn't a good idea?
Oh man, it's the best of ideas, to say the least.
Off the air, I got a great Bellator story for you, but we can't tell you guys that. I'll save that for later. But Yojimbo, he asks, yes or no? Will Stephen Thompson become welterweight champion in 2021? That's a big no for me. On to you, Anthony. What do you think?
As much as it would be cool to see it, I don't think it happens. Kamaru Usman is too tough of a challenge.
Yeah.
I think he absolutely ragdolls Wonder Boy.
I think Colby
as he
beats
does
him too.
pretty much everyone else in the division. Yeah, quite honestly, I could see that going either way. Colby will either overwhelm Wonder Boy or he'll look like Johnny Hendricks did against Wonder Boy, and it's one of those things we'll know instantly when the fight starts who's gonna win.
Yeah.
But I guess the smart money should be on Colby because he's just relentless and will stay in your face the whole time and has proven himself against some serious strikers in the past.
And like I personally am not really that interested in the fight, but I completely understand what Wonder Boy is doing by calling for a Masvidal fight. Like why not fight a guy that you beat fairly decisively and fight him again? I mean, I don't think Jorge has changed that much since then. Maybe his confidence has gotten bigger, but it makes sense. You beat Jorge, you're beating one of the biggest stars in the division. It's an easy, I beat him, I'm gonna roll now, I get a title shot. But I don't know about you, but I'm not that interested in a Masvidal Wonder Boy rematch. I'd probably rather see, even though he's the flip side of this, has said no, even to me when I interviewed him, I'd probably rather see Leon Edwards versus Wonder Boy.
Yeah, I'd rather see Leon Edwards versus Wonder Boy as well. The thing about the Masvidal fight, though, that's a fight that will always be entertaining simply because by the nature of their fight styles. Yeah. But I get Wonder Boy's strategy there. Like he beat the guy just before he became a star.
Yes.
Just before that win really, turned heads. Mm-hmm. For people like us who would watch Jorge Masvidal, since Strikeforce or Shark fights and, way back in the day, like we knew how dangerous this guy is. We knew that this guy was elite level and, a few judges' scorecards in the different direction many times throughout his career would have turned the tide greatly. Like we're talking about a guy. Yeah, exactly. So you're talking about a guy who came out on the wrong side of all these split decisions to the point where he would have been on like a 17 fight win streak or something. He got one scorecard different, in several fights. So we knew what time it was with this guy, but the rest of the world didn't. Like we're still talking about Jorge with the fade haircut. He once he grew the hair out and got that street Jesus persona is when people started paying attention to him outside of the immediate bubble of MMA fans and pundits and whatnot. So it makes sense for Wonder Boy to do that, but it doesn't make sense for Jorge. Why? Why risk your, what popularity? Like he's chasing a rematch that we don't need to see with Nate Diaz. Like that's a fight they're trying to put together, which is the stupidest thing in the world. But quite frankly, he should be fighting Colby Covington. Just fight Colby Covington, get that grudge match. That's going to be a big seller. Wonder Boy should. I'd like to see Wonder Boy versus Leon Edwards. Although this Chimaev thing, whatever.
Frank McEcker has another question. Any prediction, and I think this is a good one, any predictions for who is on the short list for Dana's chopping block? I mean, there's two names came to my mind. I forgot the other one, but the one for sure that came to me, which is sad to see, I think Jacare's he's probably going to be on that 60.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, pretty much anyone who has risen to the ranks and not quite gotten the belt and maybe is just somebody who we don't think is going to win the title again or ever, and they're highly paid. They're getting the axe. I mean, the first name I would have said prior to the start of this broadcast was Anthony Pettis, but he announced just before we went on air that he is now a free agent and he's parting ways from the UFC. So they're not even going to the negotiating table any further to solidify his presence in the octagon. So yeah, man, that was the first guy. But we're talking about when you're willing to let go Anthony Pettis after he damn near spin kicked Morono in the hell a couple days ago. Yoel Romero, who granted his last fight wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing thing in the world, but he's a guy who's consistently done all sorts of crazy stuff and entertained everybody. Rumble Johnson, who you can almost guarantee a finish on the card if he's there. Him or like he's either going to knock someone's head off or he's going to get submitted, and it's going to be fun to watch. They're willing to let him go, so no one's safe. No one is safe. I think Jacare it counts in that. JDS, you can put him down for that. I think
Maybe.
Maybe. Alistair Overeem, who Dana White was complaining about how much he got paid years ago when he came over from Strikeforce, and we know his failed attempt at getting to the title. I think he's on the chopping block as well, and we're going to see a lot of talent circulate its way through the rest of the world because of this.
I think the Anthony Pettis thing, it's almost, Anthony Pettis right now feels sort of like where Benson Henderson was when he signed with Bellator. Like, he isn't probably going to win a world title, probably isn't going to contend for a title in either division of UFC. Like, just spinning your wheels. Do you want to just be there trying, being used to make other fighters stars? Like, I think, I remember hearing like a year or so ago someone telling me that PFL was strongly interested in him. I think I could definitely see him in PFL trying to go for $1 million, or Bellator with his brother Sergio. Here's the name I forgot about, and we actually talked about it on that night, and I believe you agree with me. Tony Ferguson. 2 really bad losses, looked really rough in them, beat up badly by Gaethje, and then Oliveira just dominated him, probably making a lot of money. He's the kind of guy that, he could be an out of the cage PR nightmare randomly. Like, he has that kind of combustibility in his personality. He seems like the kind of guy that maybe from all the damage he's taken, that if he just falls off the table talent-wise, it wouldn't be shocking. Like, that would be a big name, a surprise, but in a way, it would make a lot of sense. If they're really looking for cost-cutting measures, that's the guy leaving the division that probably, unfortunately, not going to hurt the division. The division is so damn strong, despite him and Khabib not being in it.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. I think Tony Ferguson is certainly someone you can consider as a risk to getting cut. I'm reminded a lot about Rory McDonald when he left the UFC for Bellator.
Yeah.
And everyone was wondering, like, you let Rory McDonald go. He was just 1 or 2 fights removed from like the greatest title fight of all time at UFC 189 versus Robbie Lawler. Like, how do you let him go?
Yeah.
But Dana said that he thought he was compromised. He didn't think he was going to be the same after that fight. I think we have more than enough reason to believe that Tony Ferguson will not be the same after the Justin Gaethje fight. Yep. And for that price tag, for a division that's that loaded with talent, you don't necessarily need a Tony Ferguson, unfortunately. You've got plenty of stars at 155. So yeah, I think Ferguson is someone we probably will be seeing somewhere else outside of the UFC.
Now, moving on to the next one. Let's see here. We got, and this is the question I was maybe looking forward to the most. From Robbie, keeping it simple with the name, just Robbie. Are you guys excited to see Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland all team up as Spider-Man in the 3rd Spidey movie? Anthony, I'm going to take this one first as the captain credentialed and host. I'm going to take it first. And I am very excited for this, though, and I think you'll agree with me because that's why we're brothers. I'm more excited to see Charlie Cox's Daredevil. Are you with me, Anthony?
Charlie Cox's Daredevil all day long is the most important thing that we've heard about the MCU since the MCU was announced. I can't wait.
Wow.
Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. I hope they make it a permanent thing. As we talked about, I think was I the one that told you about that? Like, I think it seemed like I saw the headline and I just texted you right away.
Yeah.
And I'll just echo what you told me there. I hope this isn't just a cameo.
Yeah,
and if it is, let it be the start of him appearing further in the MCU, in the general MCU, not the Netflix universe, which apparently doesn't mean anything. Now, as far as the 3 Spider-Men are concerned, I'm excited to see it, but I'm also kind of cautious because this is sounding like a really bloated movie.
Yeah.
Because either one, we're getting really excited about these 5-second cameos with all these different people, or they're just trying to pack everybody that you have heard of into this. Like, pretty soon we're gonna get an announcement that Tom Hanks is reprising his role as Forrest Gump in Spider-Man 3. Like, it's getting to that point where it's like, bro, who is, like, Jerry Seinfeld will be appearing as Jerry Seinfeld.
Now it's getting good.
Yeah, like, oh my goodness, like, it's getting that, is like Ross and Chandler might make an appearance, and maybe your man from Boy Meets World. As long as Topanga's there, it's all good.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what is going on here, but I do know that's a lot of people to cram into a movie. But the MCU hasn't failed thus far, so I trust them to get it done right.
Do you know what? I'll have to disagree with you on not on trusting him. First, let me just go back to the Charlie Cox thing. Like, yeah, if it's like a multiverse thing and it's a look into the Netflix multiverse, I'm gonna be so disappointed. But if it's what I recently heard or read that he's supposed to be Peter's lawyer defending him, that he's Spider-Man, then perfect. Get him in there, nice cameo. He's in the universe, and then we can move on. And Jay just mentioned the idea of him being in Moon Knight, something like that, popping up there. All these kinds of like having pop-up plays, that'd be awesome. The only thing that scares me, and you're dead on with it being bloated, the only reason I can't assume, oh, it'll be fine, it's still Sony. Sony really controls this movie. And lest we not forget what the fuck happened with the first Spider-Man trilogy and that third movie. With the fucking Sandman, the Topher Grace as Venom, the worst casting, I think, of one of the worst castings ever, right there with Lone Gruffudd as Mr. Fantastic, as some of the worst superhero casting ever. And I love Richard Pryor, but Richard Pryor being a Superman 3, that's another, this was stupid. But, you know, like, it like, that worries me. Like, them just making it bloated. Like, oh, we just had this Spider-Man cartoon movie, Spider-Verse. Let's do it in real life with all these names. And, like, if it's just some big thing at the end that it's sort of like Endgame and all the heroes and these bad guys from the different multiverses of the Spider-Man multiverse come out and they show up, fine. You know, then it's going to be a good movie that's not bloated. But then again, it disappoints if we just get to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire for like 5 seconds. So I'm fascinated how they do this. You know, I like the director, John Watts. He got the Fantastic Four gig too, so that shows a lot of faith that Marvel has in him as this movie is filming now. So that gives me hope. But yeah, I can't say I'm not worried. Hell, I like Woody Harrelson. He's not Carnage. That's not Carnage, Woody Harrelson.
I'm not sure about that. Like,
you see, like Sony.
But you know what? At the same time, though, we've seen comic book castings that we question, and then all of a sudden was like, all right, I'm with it. Like, I'm sure you were one of the people that was like, how the hell did Heath Ledger get cast as the Joker?
Yep.
Because I certainly was.
Yep. And
we were all wrong about
yes.
that. I know for sure. We were on, I think, Matt Hunter's show, Mixed Combat Radio, when it was announced that Robert Pattinson was going to be the next Batman. And we were like about to break our cameras. And now, after seeing that trailer, yeah, I'm with it. I'm not. You're hating still?
I'm still, you know, I don't like how the suit looks. So and then you hear these rumors about that he's problematic, he can't get big enough physically. I don't know. I have my reservations.
Some question marks, but that trailer was amazing.
Yes.
And he looked pretty damn good as Batman in it. So okay, I'm willing to give it a shot. So we'll see what happens on that. And I'd also like to correct you on something here about the cast for Mr. Fantastic. The last person to play Mr. Fantastic was Werner Jandaroba. So just look it up.
Don't you mean Janji Doba? That's what you mean?
Janji Doba. Man, that drove me insane.
And then also this past week, the broadcast team, like this guy Bisping kept on calling Pajeda like Perhera. It was like butchering this poor man's name. Like, come on, Bisping, damn. And then also he kept calling Anthony Pettis Anthony. He's not Anthony Pettis.
Well, I got so used to that when I was growing up that people would just totally mispronounce my name. And then when Anthony Hardaway got drafted, then people were calling me Anthony. Like,
see, you should have grown up here in New York around Italians. They would call you Anthony. That would have been a good one, too.
Yeah, I actually have an Italian friend back home who calls me Anthony. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Going back to the chat, we got some interesting stuff here. Here's a good suggestion from Kay Nanley. They suggested in terms of the chopping block, and this one I can totally see. I'm surprised I haven't thought about it. Probably save a lot of money. They didn't ever really seem very supportive and behind him in the first place when he was great. What about Tyron Woodley?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, he's definitely somebody who I think they're very happy to part ways with. So we've seen when Dana has something against you and there's an opportunity to push you out the door, oh, you're going to be on the first train to Cyborg. So I think that's what we're going to see here with,
Yep.
with Tyron Woodley, and where he lands, I have no idea. How effective
Yeah.
he'll be somewhere else, I have no idea. I wouldn't even want to begin to speculate on that. I think the current version of Tyron Woodley probably doesn't do well. The Bellator welterweight roster.
Yeah, I think Lima eats him up.
Yeah,
I think
so too, at this
MVP
point.
might have been eating him up.
I wouldn't go that far because there is the wrestling there,
Yeah.
and
But Tyron just don't even like wrestling anymore. He doesn't even. He's not. It's like I don't know. When he wrestled good in Strikeforce, he's not that guy anymore.
I mean, I can see a rematch between him and Paul Daly, telling us a lot about either gentleman.
Oh
God. but we're kind of sinking kind of low here as far as what Woodley was, a year and a half ago, to what he is now, unfortunately. So I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's a motivation thing. I don't know if it's, his body has too much mileage on it or whatever the case may be. But whatever it is, I hope he figures it out and decides one way or another whether or not this is for him still.
Yeah. Now, Jay in the chat, great Jay, we're synced here. He says, "Miss me with Pattinson Batman, hit me with Batfleck." I think Batfleck is so underrated. I think I like.
Absolutely agree.
All right, so
Ben Affleck, I think, is the best Batman ever.
I don't know if I go that far. I still like Bale more, but I think he's criminally unappreciated. Ben Affleck.
Yeah, he's criminally underappreciated. I think he's the only person to be a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne. Ben Affleck was just in flawed movies playing the part. That's really the issue here. The scripts around him. If he had better material to work with, namely if Warner Brothers didn't interfere with every little thing and respond to every little nerd comment against something for every movie and every scene, and if they weren't responding to all the tears of fools, and they just let the original vision take shape, I'm sure it would have been some flaws with it, but we would have had something a whole lot better and a whole lot more cohesive than what we have now. Because what we're left with is just a mess.
Yeah, and to me, he's still in the best action fight scene I've seen in a Batman. Batman vs. That fight scene was fantastic.
In a warehouse? Oh, yes.
Yep. When he has to save Martha, because that was the big Martha. Yeah. We have similar mom names. Oh, we got to be friends. Going to your point, it's stupid ass.
Did we just become best friends?
Yes. but that too, and then also I really would have been curious on what his movie would have been if he was writing, directing it. The guy's a talented writer director. I would have liked to have seen what his vision of Batman could have been. It could have been it could have blown us away. It could have been fucking Joker of Batman. Who knows? But we'll never get to see that now.
So I was watching. My wife and I were watching The Town a couple months ago.
That movie's so good.
And was and I was so mad watching that. And I was like, this could have been a Batman movie. Can you imagine? This level of intelligence and this acting and all this, this could have been a Batman movie. Yep. Are you
frustrating? Thank you, Warner Brothers. Always up to your shenanigans. But moving along, back to Robbie. Robbie's got another question. He goes, "Are you guys?" Oh no, excuse me, Robbie. I was the wrong one. Going back, didn't erase it. Zebra Cheeks. I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot of things here, Anthony. I'm busy. Zebra Cheeks, he asks, "What's your personal favorite food you look forward to around the holidays?" Now, I'm going to see if we're on the same track here. Now, for Thanksgiving turkey, I'm a big fan. Whatever.
Turkey sucks.
What, turkey?
Turkey sucks.
Turkey's good. It's good if it's cooked well. It's good. But anyway, getting away from that. Yeah, because that's the thing. There's a lot of turkey.
But nobody knows
how
to cook it well.
My mom year.
My wife is crazy with the turkey.
We both got lucky.
Bomb on that.
My mom did the brining and all that. It was fantastic. But in Christmas time, I'm a big fan of course of eggnog, but fruitcake. What do you think about fruitcake?
You know what? Fruitcake just ain't for me. But I'm not a big sweet eater. I like fried and salty food. So I know what I'm doing. I got some steaks in the freezer, and I'm probably just gonna fire up the grill and just make some steaks and have some red wine and
that
some spinach salad.
That seems like a regular day. That doesn't seem like the holidays. That's like Tuesday.
Yeah, I grew up not celebrating holidays, so it's
like
like
Tuesday
whatever.
at the Walker house. We talking about something different, Anthony. Come on now, bring something.
Okay,
more.
all right. So I gotta get in the mood. Bye, humbug. All right.
You gotta bring something holiday. Steak is every day. Come on.
Well, what's considered holiday Christmas food besides fruitcake and eggnog? Because I'll drink a lot of whiskey. You know, and
it has Santa on the bottle, so there you go. It's holiday.
I mean, it's a bottle of Jim Beam. There's like red on it somewhere. So
fair enough.
So yeah, whiskey. Favorite holiday food.
Christmas.
Do edibles count?
Sure. If they're wrapped in a present, yes, they count. We got Jimbo, who's doing great in the chats, also great in the questions. He asks, what do you think is going to happen in the upcoming season of WandaVision? Can't wait for WandaVision. It's just like 3 weeks away. I can't wait.
Yeah, man, 3 weeks away.
Yeah, it's like January 17th or something like that, I think.
Oh man, that's fast approaching. I'm very much looking forward to it. I think what's going to happen, I think Scarlet Witch is kind of holding people and at least their consciousness hostage within this world that she created in her mind, and I think she's going to end up being sort of like the villain, but an unwitting villain. Yeah. So that should be very interesting, and I'm curious as how this is supposed to be one of those game changers for the MCU as far as introducing and really exploring the multiverse concept. And there's going to be some X-Men Easter eggs dropped in there as well. And it's something that's going to fundamentally change the whole thing. Yeah. So I can't wait, man. I can't wait. But I just wonder if she's going to be able to manifest Vision coming back to life.
Yeah. No, I mean, you nailed pretty much everything. Everything points to it's going to lead into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So, yeah, I think that's where it's going to go. It's unwitting villain and setting up to be almost like a villain in Doctor Strange. So I can't really add too much. All I can really add is just how excited I am for the other shows. Like Don Cheadle, Iron Man. I mean, War Machine in Armor Wars. Oh, Armor Wars is gonna be fire. And then also
Falcon.
Yes,
and
that
Soldier.
trailer. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much to look forward to, and not even talking about the Star Wars series as well.
Yeah, no,
I'm still I'm still high off Mandalorian. Yeah. This is fantastic. I'm very excited here. And then also, the only thing I asked for in WandaVision, please redeem Vision. Because Vision was some trash in the Avengers movies. He was weak as hell. He was trash. They hyped him up. He picked up Thor's hammer and all that, and he was getting his ass whooped for the few movies, man.
I feel like it was just I think he was good, just like he didn't get enough time. So that's what this show, maybe in going to your idea of redeeming, he just gets the time to really showcase. I think it was there. We saw the potential. Just when you're in Avengers movies, like you're so limited for time, and all these other people have their own movies to give background. He started there, but I mean, I liked what he did in Infinity War, and then he got hurt, and then he wasn't. So you might, he wasn't to the level he could have been. Yeah, without a doubt.
The most significant thing he did in the movies was miss shooting at Falcon and hitting War Machine.
Yeah.
The most significant thing he did was paralyze his own man. What a heap of trash. Vision sucks.
I mean, yeah. I mean, also to add to the show. She-Hulk's gonna have Ruffalo. It's gonna have Tim Roth back as Abomination. That's another one. Oh man, so much goodness. Oh yeah, Secret Invasion.
Show and is Blade gonna be a series or is that gonna be a movie?
No, that's a movie, and it's supposed to come out before Captain Marvel 2. So I'm guessing that's it's supposed to come out fall of 2022, something like that.
Man, this is too much, man. Yeah. This is a wonderful time to be a nerd.
Yeah, and to add, Jay added in. Fantastic job, Jay. All over it on all levels, not just anime. January 15th release date for WandaVision. Fantastic job, Jay. He also adds, and Jay's bringing it again with on the ones and twos of the stats and information bombs, a roast beef or ham with pineapple rings and cherries for eyes. You don't do that on Tuesday, Anthony. You do that on the holidays.
Okay. I mean, hey, holidays just weren't my thing. It still aren't. I have to pretend to care about them. I got dragged to get to Home Depot to get this Christmas tree.
Wow,
I didn't want to be there, but
damn.
It is what it is, man. At least
what are you doing to my nephew? What are you gonna do to Adonis? You gonna tell him Santa Claus? He never gonna even know about Santa Claus already? I mean,
Daddy did this. Daddy went to work and got this money for these presents, fella.
I respect that. I wish I would have did the same. Oh well, your evil it has no bounds, and I love it. Well done. Uh, all right, next question from Purple Storm. This is pretty much our best of section of the questions. This is the last 4. So Purple Storm asks, who's your 2020 Fighter of the Year and breakout star you feel is coming in 2021?
Oh man, at the risk of, I don't want to say this man's name a whole lot. So the person who probably will get my Fighter of the Year, because I still haven't fully thought it out, I'll put him on the back burner for the person who will be the obvious next guy in line, and that's Deiveson Figueiredo. You talk about someone who beat Joseph Benavidez twice. Granted, he missed weight the first time, but he beat Joseph Benavidez twice, one of the all-time great lighter weight fighters. Then goes on to defend his title in a lightning quick submission, then goes on for a Fight of the Year 3 weeks later. I think that's Fight of the Year material. I understand if there's an asterisk next to that because of the draw and the groin kick, the savage groin kick. But I think he's the guy who put in the most work at the highest level this year.
Yeah, I would agree. And if this was kind of hard, even the Sherdog Awards that coming out there, their picks were Jan Blachowicz, Deiveson, Kevin Holland, which it's surprising, but I get it, and Charles Oliveira. I mean, that's the kind of year it's been. Like, all the big names we know of that we would assume are there, like, fought once. Like, a lot of the top guys only fought once. So these are the fighters that were the most active. And of that group, yeah, I go the same way. Deiveson Figueiredo, like, just like you laid out who he beat. Yeah, Brandon Moreno probably really close. And that was a real question fight, but just on pure numbers, making setting a record in terms of the fastest title defense turnover in between fights. Yeah, he's my guy. But this is not 2020 did not offer the strongest Fighter of the Year candidate. My breakout guy though, and honestly, I feel he broke out in 2020, but you know, a lot of big things happened in 2020, so I think he got lost in the shuffle. If he would have won his fight about a month ago, I think he's probably in the breakthrough Fight of the Year conversation, and he probably, for me, wins it over even Kevin Holland. So I think next year, when he has another good year, more people pay attention. That's Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval was great this year. If he would have beat Brandon Moreno, I think he would have been 4-0 this year. Probably moved up into the top 3 for flight. This guy was not even in the UFC this year. Gets signed from the LFA, has a crazy run. He's like a top 5 flyweight. So I think next year he's probably will make his way up to the title shot. I think he's the breakthrough guy for next year, if not for that loss.
My breakout guy for next year, and I mean, make sure that I pronounce the name correctly because I tend to mess up names, as you might remember.
Hamza Chimaev? That's how you say it, Anthony.
Not quite. Rafael Fiziev.
Yes!
Is the guy. Yep. He is the guy for next year. Yeah, he's just his brief amount of time that we've seen him, just
his
striking
Casey
skills,
performance, man,
just
nasty.
On another level. Just the subtleties and a lot of the striking he was doing was fantastic. How he absolutely demolished Moicano. This guy's a star.
Yeah, and it's crazy. He has a loss. Like, I don't even remember seeing his first fight in the UFC and losing. Like, so it blows my mind. Like, I thought his first 2 performances was Jacasio Moicano. I had to go back and say, oh shit, he lost. So, yeah, I gotta almost go back and watch that fight. Yeah, Fiziev is fantastic. Jay, give us your breakout for 2021 and Fighter of the Year too while we move on to this next question. But the next one, I wanted to just debate some of the stuff that's on some of the awards for the Sherdog Year End Awards, and just debate, you know, because these are the tough ones for me and who to choose. I want to see where you would go and just have a little fun. The first one, this one is Beatdown of the Year. There was a lot of for the overall picks for Beatdown of the Year. We had let me go down. We had Conor versus over Cowboy. We had Gaethje over Ferguson, Glover over Anthony Smith, Gilbert on Tyron Woodley, Amanda Nunes on Spencer, Chimaev on John Phillips, and Jun Young Park on John Phillips. Damn, John Phillips on here twice. Damn, John Phillips, you had a tough year.
That's a rough year.
He got ultimate beat down twice in 2020. But for me, it was between Conor and Cerrone, Gaethje and Ferguson, Nunes, Spencer. I went Gaethje and Ferguson just because I think Gaethje just completely changed the trajectory and direction of Ferguson's career. Of those 3, who do you think had the worst beatdown?
I think you're right on that. I think Gaethje and Tony Ferguson should win that. That was a sustained beating that
Oh
we didn't expect,
no,
and that's sort of the thing that takes it above McGregor, Cerrone,
yeah,
and Nunes, Spencer. We expected Nunes to absolutely run through Spencer. Like
yeah,
there was no one was picking Spencer to win that at all. While there were a few dissenting voices out there that thought, well, if Cerrone throws a head kick at the right time, then he can catch Connor. I think we all kind of knew what was going on there. And
mm-hmm.
then on top of that, Cerrone has proven in those bigger moments that something
Yeah,
just quite isn't right with the way he
yes,
approaches that fight from the start. We look back to his failed title attempt against Rafael dos Anjos. Um, so I think that it's got to be Gaethje. It's got to be
yeah,
Gaethje. We didn't expect him to just annihilate Ferguson the way we did. We kind of expected
yeah,
that to be a back and forth fight.
yep.
That was the overall sentiment that I can remember having leading into that, and it turned out to be the exact opposite. And then on top of that, Tony Ferguson was on a record-breaking
Yeah.
win streak.
Yes. Yep.
He came off of these ridiculous, like just beautiful performances against the top names in the division, and to see someone just shut him down and give him almost nothing. I mean, granted, there was that uppercut that dropped Gaethje at the end of the second round, I think it was, but I mean, it didn't come close to amounting to the level of damage that he sustained, and like you said, probably changed the course of his career like that.
Yeah. Going back to the chat, Jay Henry throws out there Festivus for the rest of us. Thank you, sir. Always Festivus time in this place. Also, Yojimbo asks, Vision whipped Ultron's ass, though. Anthony, what do you think of that? He did finish him off.
He did finish, but that was like Ultron in like that weak, broken down body after the rest of the Avengers, the real Avengers, did the real work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Vision sucks, man.
What if they did like I hope I know they gave like fun looks and he's like Halloween, he's like trick or treating in like his old school
like
look and everything.
book,
I
yeah.
wish they did like the Vision, the real old Vision, which is like that weird all white Vision like they had in the video games. Do you remember that the early Vision?
I kind of like. I remember more like the gray one.
Maybe that's
the
what
way
it's
he
gray.
looked when the Infinity Stone got ripped out of his head, like the way his body turned that color.
Yeah, I hope they have.
And Vision was some trash. Like the way Thanos just handled him. Everybody handled him like Thanos' goons was giving him the business.
He was already hurt though. He was caught in the back.
No, because they hurt him. That's because he sucks.
Because he was looking in the Scarlet Witch's eyes. I mean, beautiful woman. I'd be caught up in it too. Come on, Ed. All right. Jay answered some of the questions. 2021 breakout star for Jay is Charles Oliveira becomes lightweight champ after all he did to get there. That's a good one. I don't think he'll win lightweight title, but if he did, I wouldn't be shocked either. He's had that kind of crazy year. Also, for his fighter of the year, he also agrees with us. Deiveson Figueiredo wins flyweight belt, defends it, engages in a fight of the year. Yep, all good reasons. He also gives two more, but he gives beatdown. Beatdown, he did not go with one of what I was thinking. He went with Glover on Anthony Smith, with the thinking being a fight that went around too long and several teeth too many.
Yeah, that's not a bad one there. I mean, how often is it that a fighter is looking for their teeth in between rounds? And also a fight that people were screaming that needed to be stopped. Mm-hmm. So I'm not mad at that.
Now on to breakthrough fighter for the Sherdog. The nominees there in breakthrough fighter were Joaquin Buckley, get it, the kick seen round the world. Gilbert Burns soundly defeated a top 10 and then a top 5 fighter in Damian Maia, Tyron Woodley, a good one. Hamza Chimaev, everybody's on the dick. Kevin Holland, Lauren Murphy's a good one. 3-0, had a great year at 37. And my guy Chaos Williams, though the loss last week probably nullified any chance he had winning. To me, I think it's clearly between Chimaev and Holland. My pick is Holland just because I'm using sense and obviousness and 5-0. He sunned Jacare. Jacare, yeah, I get Jacare's old, but he's still good. He punched someone and hurt him sitting on his ass. I'm sorry, Chimaev did not do that this year. But let's play devil's advocate, Anthony. I want you to play devil's advocate. Why should it be Chimaev?
Why am I going to sit here and lie to the people?
Because you lie to them all the time.
Excuse me, is my name Dana? Call me Dana. Sit your tongue. Now, I think if you're talking about Chimaev, then you're talking about metrics. You're talking about numbers and viewership and level of fan interest, and no one generated interest like Khamzat Chimaev this year, and that's undeniable. But reality says he does not deserve that. I think in order to when you have Kevin Holland is far and away the breakthrough fighter over Chimaev. I will go Lauren Murphy is the breakthrough fighter over Chimaev. I mean, if he didn't get knocked out by Holland earlier in the year, or was it earlier in the year, or was it late last year when Holland knocked out Buckley?
It was earlier this year. I think that might have been his first or second win this year, something like that.
Okay.
Because it was Buckley's debut, too.
Like Buckley beat, Buckley had a more spectacular moment than Chimaev, in my opinion. Like, and he's definitely not the breakthrough fighter of the year. Kevin Holland, 5-0 in the year, and, in my opinion, has the knockout of the year over Buckley. So I'm not seeing how this is a conversation. Just because Chimaev got added to the UFC game and he's like indestructible, he's like the Terminator in that game, you just can't beat him. That doesn't translate to reality. I'm sorry, you beat two or three people in the UFC who were debuting. I think they were both debuting. And they've been winless since. Yeah. And Gerald Meerschaert, who is a respectable fighter, but he's not Jacare. So
yeah.
I mean, we're having different conversations here.
Yeah.
We like to talk about fights and reality.
Yeah. How dare we? We're crazy. Also, Jay also went with Kevin Holland, 5-0, crazy knockout on top of Jacare. I mean, that knockout. I know the Buckley one will be knockout of the year. I picked it. It is that kind of amazing video game stuff, but try to do anything sitting down, let alone punch a man sitting on the floor and somehow hurt him. That punch, that strike is maybe knockout of the year. That if he would have knocked out Jacare just from that, if it didn't need more punches, that would have done it. But that's how crazy. But anyway, now move on to the last one, fight of the year. Now for me, looking at Sherdog's fight of the year crop, it was Hooker versus Paul Felder, Julie Judge Stolarenko versus Lisa Verzosa. I didn't see that fight. That was in Invicta. That was the Phoenix Series 3 in March. I did not see that fight.
I vaguely remember that fight. Yeah, that was a really good one.
Weili versus Joanna, Gaethje Ferguson, Luke Price, Quarantillo, Spike Carlisle, Josh Emmett, Shane Burgos. That was a really good one too. And who was it? What is it like? Josh Emmett. He had like an injury too that he was fighting with in those last rounds.
Yeah, he like tore his knee in the first round or something. Yeah.
Pori Hooker probably round of the year in that fight. Macon Mencano beating Batsamburo Dag. Oh my God, say that 3 times fast. That was at LFA 96 in December. I didn't see that. I didn't get to see that one. Vittori Hermansen, that was a very good one. And then Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. Now for me, I thought it was between Hooker Poirier. When you have fight round of the year, you got to be there. Moreno Figueiredo and Zhang Weili and Joanna. I picked Zhang and Joanna because I felt it had all the things you need in terms of brutality and violence and just peak technical excellence, pace. That fight was amazing. That's my without an easy favorite female fight of all time, but just in general, one of the best fights, best title fights I've ever seen. Amazing fight.
I couldn't agree with you more. That fight was perfect. It was technical. It was action packed. There was no, unlike Moreno and Figueiredo, there was no lull in the action. Yep. That 5th round did not become a stall to get to the final bell. Yeah. They went at it nonstop for the entire time, and on top of that, no fouls. Yeah, that was a fight that the ref didn't have to step in to do a whole lot. Like the fight just took place. The greatest, in my opinion, the greatest women's fight of all time. Definitely the greatest fight in that division. Just amazing, easy fight of the year for me.
And that was also gigantic second head Joanna as well, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was like she looked like RoboCop with the helmet off.
She looked like she had Kuato from Total Recall, but instead of the belly, it was growing from her head. Look that up, Total Recall Young Bucks. Kuato.
And not the remake.
Yeah, nah, not the Colin Farrell bullshit. Total Recall Schwarzenegger, baby. But Jay also agreed with us. He's down with Zhang and Joanna all day long, as he says. He says the Stoliarenko and Versosa was the bloodiest women's fight he's ever seen. So that's probably why it's also memorable for a lot of people. And that's pretty much it. That's all we've got. It somehow ended too quick, way faster than I expected. Anthony, it's always a pleasure. What do you have for us? What do you have anything coming for us in MMA on point? Do you have anything in my news, Body Lock? Well, what do you got? Anything? Please promote away.
I'm so bad at promoting, but I'll try it anyway.
How are you bad at promoting, but you're your own biggest fan? That makes no sense.
Because I'm secure in my fandom. But you can follow me on Twitter at AntWalkerMMA. Also my Instagram. I still don't post a whole lot, but follow it anyway, just to see in case I do.
Did you see what Jay put in the chat? Quaid, start the reactor. Well played, Jay. Well played. I'm sorry for interrupting. Continue.
Please. Oh no, nothing. Because like I said, I'm bad at promoting myself, so it is what it is. I've got some stuff for Body Lock coming out. We do reaction videos to certain issues, things that you probably would like to hear me yell and rant and rave about. So
I hope there's a reaction video on this data video.
Oh yeah, me and Matt Wells dropped an epic one yesterday. So I don't know if it's posted yet. Okay. I know if it's being edited and all that stuff, but yeah, I went nuclear. Then of course the Walkout Network. That's me, Jay, and Ben have our panel show on Unleashed every Monday. We tape that. It's released on Tuesdays typically. MMA on point. I got some scripts. I don't know which ones are coming out, but I got a bunch of scripts that I've written that are sitting there that they're making videos on. So check out a video. I probably wrote it, and yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, other than just, be sexy and all that fun stuff.
Instagram and Twitter, the handle?
Yeah, and Walker MMA.
Jay actually throws in one more question, bonus question. What does Marvel do with Black Panther 2 since Chadwick Boseman will not be recast? We talked about this when this all happened. I'm in favor of a recast. I get why he's so important to the role, but I just love the character of T'Challa so much. I think you have to continue it. And now you hear rumors of it'll be Shuri like it was in the comics. I just read one recently that they just might go with M'Baku and he might just become Black Panther. I'm so on that. Like, what are your thoughts? I would have liked the recast, but I get people not for it.
Yeah, I understand the hesitation in it. And if they are, since they are going the route where they're not recasting, they should do a scene in the ancestral plane. And this will be the one time, I know they said they weren't going to do this, but the one time that they use Chadwick Boseman in CGI and just have him talk to Shuri, they say their goodbyes, and he kind of gives his blessing as far as her being Black Panther. Yeah. So do that if that's the route you're going to go. But I'm with you. I think it should be recast. I think the character of T'Challa is just too important.
Yes. Yes.
And not just to the Marvel universe, but to just black kids, man, that just need to see a hero that looks like them. Yeah. I know for me to be in my late 30s and to have this immense sense of pride and excitement seeing that, I'm like, man, I can't imagine if I was 12 right now, what I'd be. And I hate the idea that so many kids, like my son, is going to get robbed of that feeling for this particular character right now. Yep. I don't like that. I get it. I get it because it's so emotional. It's such a sad situation that it's got to be difficult for everyone involved to just push forward. But if we're looking at the bigger picture is kids seeing heroes that look like them, and that, I believe, trumps it all.
I guess that perfectly nails it. Like that character, like if Christopher Reeve died after Superman 2, do you just not do Superman anymore? Like, I couldn't see that. And Christopher Reeve is as iconic with that character. No one stopped when Michael Keaton didn't want to do Batman anymore. Like, and I get it. It's a tragic, unfortunate death, and it's what he did with the role, what it meant at the time, what it means to people. But, like, yeah, to take that character away, that unique character, to give several generations going forward over the next 20, 30 years as the movie gets played on TV, like we watch Superman and Batman on TV and all this bullshit, to have it not there, and it's Shuri, no disrespect, Shuri M'Baku, like, yeah, it's a disappointment, big time disappointment. But I totally agree. As for me, when it comes to the stories and stuff like that, this week, it's already up now, Adriano Moraes conversation. Actually, a good clip on the Sherdog YouTube about how he actually was in a gang as a kid, how he found jiu-jitsu from wanting to be tougher and street fighting from the gang he was in. Go see that. Demetrius Johnson interview should be up this week. Brandon Moreno post UFC 256 conversation should be up this week. Some other stuff next week. As always, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Cheap Seats Chat on both of them. This is always the saddest part for me. When we have to get to the end, when we have to end it, when the reunion comes to an end, but all reunions must come to an end. The Beatles did not go on forever, and we are the Beatles of MMA podcasting, in my opinion. So, he's Anthony Walker, the third best looking man in this reunion. I am Jason Burgos. This is The Trenches.